And welcome back to Telefunken Soundstage. I'm John Dankosky. I'm here with Mario Pavone. Mario, it's so good to see you.
Great to see you.
And congratulations on this great night.
Wonderful celebration.
Yeah, you know, and I've got some things to give you in just a second. Before I do that, before we talk for a minute, I want to thank Telefunken. It's an amazing facility, and we've been taken so well care of here today, and for all of these Litchfield Jazz Festival events. Also thanks to Downbeat Magazine, Real Artways, Firehouse 12, Hartford Jazz Society for helping to spread the word about this really important event. And you also see on your screen that there's ways that you can donate to the Litchfield Jazz Festival. If you make a donation of $150 or more, I feel like I'm in a public radio fundraiser here, you can get a CD, Mario Pavone and his Dialect Trio. That's what we're hearing tonight with Matt Mitchell and Tyshawn Sorey. So that's just one of the ways that you can make a donation. Maybe we can start with the Litchfield Jazz Festival. Of all the things we're celebrating, 25 years being part of the Jazz Festival family.
And the camp.
And the camp.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about the camp. Tell us about what that relationship means to you.
The camp, well, it's at the heart of everything, I think, that we do at the Litchfield Jazz Festival under the helm of Vita Muir. And the camp is a great experience for the kids. 25 years watching the kids feel this empowerment in music and as people, as young people. And I come away every year. This first year I didn't teach any classes. It was this year, but the virtual thing. But I come away every year feeling, wow, I've learned a whole pile, and it's really gratifying. It's nothing like else what I do.
Yeah, and it's teaching very young people, younger, frankly, than you were when you started in music, right?
Yeah, they're about 13 to 17 is, I would say, the majority of our student body, yeah.
How important do you think jazz education is right now?
Oh, I think it's important, very important. I mean, I think we're seeing the results of it. The young players that are coming out now really have a great wealth of stuff at their fingertips. I also think, I hope we will get out of this situation we are in the world soon, because all of this, it needs to be always enhanced by experience on the ground, on the job. With, you know, they get mentored at the camp, but mentoring, you know, on the actual bandstand and the fellowship that goes down on the bandstand.
Hearing real live people give you feedback about what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's incredibly important.
Yeah.
And obviously, so you've been very involved with Litchfield Jazz for such a long time and teaching, but as I said before, you started your career a little later than some of these kids.
Yeah.
When did you get started playing music for real?
I was 24, and I went out to Chicago and saw this great guitar player, Joe DiOrio, and he was encouraging. I was a jazz lover. I became a jazz lover in late high school and early college, and I went out. He encouraged me. I came back. I rented a bass, and I had several lessons studying with the great chamber player Bertram Turetsky, and I was on my way. I was in New York within months, and was fortunate. Paul Bley took me to Europe. I hardly knew the bass, really.
How long were you playing before Paul Bley took you to Europe?
I'd say about a year and a half.
How the hell did you do that?
I don't know. Let's start again. I want to start again, so I can maybe, you know, do a do-over. But no, it's worked. It's worked for me. Loving the music is, of course, the big ingredient for everybody. Really, you have to really love this music. And I never thought of the obstacles. Certainly, as the years went by, I always was starting to think, well, I need to learn more. The more you know, the more you want to know. The more you need to know. But it's worked. I've had a great life in music, 50-something years, and I feel fulfilled. I'm very, very humbled by the fact that I've had a life around the world in music. Yeah. What could be better doing what you? I was an engineer up until that time, and quit my job and went to John Coltrane's funeral. That was really it after that. You know.
And that's really the inspiration for you.
Yeah. Coltrane was a big inspiration. To me, he, besides his great prowess and spirituality and that he had this humbleness. He said to me, Mary and I were on our honeymoon that day, 659. Next week's our 59th anniversary.
Congratulations.
When they were, thank you. When they were recording the Live at the Vanguard, a seminal record. And one of the things he was saying to me was, you too can do this, to all of us. You can do this. You can do what I do. It was amazing that was part of his message.
What's so interesting about that is that so many people would see Coltrane, they'd hear Coltrane and think, I couldn't possibly do that.
Yeah.
How could he say, I could do what he's doing right now? But he spoke to you, and you actually heard it and said, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I went
amazing.
out, rented, and that was it. And that was in New York. And yeah, he did. He I know, how does that work? I guess some kind of, well, the prowess should contain, the great spirituality of things should contain both elements, the humbleness, and he certainly was, and a giant and humble at the same time. I still get moved when I think about him, even, much less hear the old records and stuff. Yeah.
As your career in music progressed, how did the way that you hear music change? I mean, because you just dove right in, and you were learning as you went, but you were learning with some of the great jazz players and improvisational players in the world. I mean, how did it start to change for you over time?
Well, my early mentors like Blay and Bill Dixon, and really said a lot. They were doing it. They had much more elevated knowledge and stuff, but they had an openness to it that let me in, I would say. And then really what happened, that was, I think, a really big change, was meeting some of the great Chicago players that moved east, like Wadada, Leo Smith, and Anthony Braxton. And that really, these guys were also into composition and a whole new realm of composition. It was like, turned the East Coast from black and white. We were all down there playing free music, and it turned the black and white scene of New York into Technicolor is what happened. They came in with a lot of extra instruments and a lot of color and great emphasis on composition. Yeah.
But
Mulhall, of course, also. Yeah.
But learning how to compose, this is an entirely different skill set, right? It's part of the music, but the level at which you learn to compose from these folks, it does take it to another level. How did you start to hear as a composer then?
I think the bass was a kind of a way in for me. I wrote only from the bass, didn't go to the piano for a long time, each piece. So I wrote from the bass. So I started picturing the bass graphically. Mingus talked about getting outside the bass and looking at the fingerboard as a piano and fifths and fourths and then tritones and stuff. And I started to visualize it literally, graphically, like a painter would or a graphic artist. And that's the mathematical aspect. I thought it gave me a way in. I was coming up with these things and trying them, and they sounded terrible. And then they started sounding better.
Yeah.
Yay. So.
But so as you're learning how to do that, I mean, traditionally, if you were going to school to learn how to be a composer, they wouldn't teach you to compose from the bass. And so you were probably hearing the music entirely differently because you were mapping it out like that.
Yes, I was. I think it gave me a unique view coming just solely from the bass. And two-note things were about the most you could do with double stops and stuff. But and then I had great people collaborating with me, voicing and arranging some of the music, and it was great working together, and just kept blooming.
Yeah. So as your career progressed, you've played in all sorts of different styles, and you've played with so many different musicians in different configurations. Tell me about playing trio music. What's special about that for you?
Yeah, for the last 10 years especially, I've really been into it, and lucky to play with a lot of great piano players and drummers. The piano trio in jazz is such a wide open thing. I mean, you can think of the normal quintet, tenor sax and trumpet, but the piano trio is the whole orchestra. And there's a tradition there from Stride to Bill Evans to Bud Powell to Wynton and all the way to Cecil and all the way up. And it just seemed, for what I was trying to do, which is have an openness, and I still am far from effectively mastering this at all, but an openness with forward motion and pulsation is still very important to me, and somehow the two is what I'm trying to do, I guess. Yeah.
So then this trio, you've been playing together for about six, 7 years?
Yep. Yep.
And tell me about playing with this particular group of musicians.
Well, basically, I give them a sheet of music, but they hardly need 5 notes, really. Just give these guys 5 notes and they will create beautiful music with it, is how I feel about it. I mean, so, and they're both just so generous of spirit and generous to my music and to me. And it's so easy playing with them. It really is remarkable because the page is not the central thing. Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Well, as I said, I give them a few notes, so we're listening, we're working off each other, and you know, I don't know. It's just this thing happens. That's all. This thing happens, and Tyshawn is a flow, and Tyshawn's breadth in music, the wideness and broadness of his music is remarkable, and he kind of absorbs the music first time through. He looks at it, he's got it. Put the 10 sheets down, he's got it. And Matt's pretty much the same way, and Matt's an amazing pianist to me. He captures both of those parts. Yeah. I don't know. It's not an easy thing to talk about when it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and this idea of having both openness, but then there's a lot in all of your music. There's these very, very dense passages that feel as though a bunch of things are colliding at once, and then they open back up again.
Yeah.
I mean, are you thinking, you were talking about learning the bass visually almost. Are you thinking in terms of openness, things closing up, visual patterns?
Absolutely, I am, and I want to. I still have work to do on that to really get it even more dimensional that way and transitional that way. I am thinking that, and I like the contrast between the denseness and then the air, and the denseness with the openness of rhythm, or maybe the absence of rhythm, and then into rhythm. Yeah.
Do you ever, a couple of years ago, I remember hearing your band playing Street Songs that was an accordion-based ensemble. And a lot of that music harkened back to the music that you heard in Waterbury as a kid.
Yeah.
How much of the music that you grew up with do you put back into the music that you play today?
Oh, I think it's all there. Starting during the war, Second War, my mom took me to the movies. So is it David Raskin? I mean, all these great movie scores and movie music, and she loved all the film noir and the Joan Crawfords and Barbara Stanwyck's, and it was wow. The music was the thing for me right then and there. But I kind of didn't quite get that that's what I was doing. And then I went to a high school in Waterbury. That was majority black high school, and there's where I really learned the contrast. You know, rhythm and blues was there before rock and roll, and I got to really an insight from these players of black music. In that field, in rhythm and blues. And I started realizing these guys sang when they'd walk down the hallways and stuff, and I love that music. But I didn't hear jazz. I remember hearing Charlie Parker with strings when maybe I was 13. I said, wow, that embraceable you, that's amazing. Melody, and then he's doing these things in between it, you know, filigrees. Yeah, not really, but so, but then there was this guy in the fraternity that I was in 1958 that had this amazing record collection. And I can remember those first records, Brubeck and Ahmad Jamal, then Further, and just like, really, it just, I didn't get through that semester. Went back, did graduate with a 3.0, but that first semester was a mess because I got drawn into the music, and it was just, the love was setting in. So I got out, went in the National Guard, and then came back at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we're going to get back and start to play some music in just a couple minutes, but what more do you want to accomplish? I mean, you're talking about putting out another record, maybe sometime soon. you're still talking, Mario, like you've got so much to learn on the instrument, which of
Yeah.
course, for people who are watching, say, how can you have anything else to learn? I mean, what do you still want to do here?
I just want to keep going. The music is keeping me going right now. We have some, 80. I have some health issues, but the music keeps me going. And, to the extent that I have the energy, it's family and music at this point for me. Yeah.
I actually want to give you a couple things here. There are a few special things I want to give you. So first of all, this is a signed letter from the Connecticut Community Foundation. It used to be the Waterbury Foundation,
Right.
and it's a very nice framed
thank you.
letter, sort of as a commemoration of your 60 years of music, your 80 years on this planet. Yeah. And then I got one more here for you.
Oh, getting the plaques.
They're getting the plaques. This is always a nice thing. It's from the Hartford Jazz Society.
Oh,
Happy
how
80th
sweet.
birthday, Mario Pavone.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
And you've got
Great
a lot of people, play music in New York for such a long time, play music all over the world, but there's still this vibrant jazz scene here in Connecticut. So many people who are part of Connecticut jazz that you know so well and you've played with for so many years.
Yeah, it's great players in the state, and from the state and out in the world, and many of them came through the Litchfield Jazz Camp. I mean, that's one of the things about 25 years now. Kids coming in at 14 and going out at 18 and coming back to teach and contribute back to the camp. That's really incredible. And just the credentials of the players that have left there. Connecticut's great. It's great for bass players, especially.
Yeah.
A lot of great bass players here. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for speaking with me for just a little bit, and for this amazing concert, and just for all the music. I've been listening to music
so much,
for a very long time. I was telling you before, I sought you out when I first came to Connecticut because I was listening to your records back in Pittsburgh where I grew up, and I thought to myself, God, this guy lives in Connecticut. I can just call him up. And so we've known each other for a little while, and it's really good to see you doing so well.
You too. Thanks so much. Yeah, it's a pleasure.